As we go through life, we will meet a variety of people and we will build complicated personal relationships with them. There are various types of relationships, such as friend, work, romantic, and family relationships. It is important to remember that relationships are as individual and different as people who are a part of them. There are different expectations in every relationship. Sometimes these expectations are made clear by talking about them, but other times they're just unspoken rules that develop as people spend time together. In this series, we're going to talk about different aspects of relationships from different point of view with Dr. Sahar Monfared, Kasra, Adam, Sanas. Today's topic is, what do you do when your family or friends don't like your significant other? So I want to start with Sanas. Should you even care if your family, let's just start with family. Should you even care if your family likes your significant other or not?
You know what? I'm going to say yes. Short answer is yes. In my opinion, it will work out better in the end if your family is supportive of your relationship. And that's to say, I had a situation where I know my family was not, and it did not end well. And now that they do, and they're supportive of the relationship, it has been great. So,
Kasra, is there a difference between family not approving versus friend not approving your significant other?
Absolutely. I mean, family, if they don't approve, it's usually not going to work. It's inevitable. But it depends on what kind of life you want to live, right? There's many types of couples that seclude themselves. They travel. They move to different areas, far away. I think a lot of those instances it can work. But if you want to involve yourself in each other's families, if you want to be around each other, it has to work, because if it's not, people are not going to get along, and it's going to cause a deterioration in the marriage.
Adam, you think this is like a cultural issue? Like I know, in Persian culture, we tend to be more family oriented. So you think does culture play a role in this matter?
I think it does. I think in the Iranian American community, from a childhood, they tell you family first, prioritize it, and really instill it upon you. But that's why I think that should really make us be aware that it isn't, and it shouldn't be, or at least to question it. So if your parents are saying we should be a priority, and we should have a say, and you should conform to what we want your partner to be like, well, that's a mistake. And it shouldn't be that way. You're going to be spending time ultimately with this person. That's going to be your partner of your life most of your time. So what does it matter if your parents like her or don't like her, approve or don't like? As long as she's good for you and your partner.
No, I disagree, because you're going to spend time with your family. You want that person and your family to get along. And if they're not supportive, and I know from my Persian parents are very stubborn. If they don't like someone, they will make it known. They're not going to try. You're not going to change their mind. Trust me, I've had the situation, and they just don't. They're stubborn. So you want to spend time with that person and your family. How's that going to work?
Well, I don't think that the fact that someone is knowingly or decidingly is intentionally being stubborn should impact anything. That's like having, let's say, two friends, and they don't get along. They don't like each other. Doesn't mean you should be less friends with one of them because the other one doesn't. They don't get along, or it's inevitable because you're closer to this one, that whenever you hang out, this one's not going to be comfortable or so forth. So you should just put that person aside. I think you have to maintain, if your connection is good and healthy and so forth. Who cares the circumstances?
There's a psychological influence as well, because the best way to convince someone to do something is tell them to not do it. So in many types of relationships, especially culturally, the parents have built this image of the person that you want to be with for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And if you don't meet that image, and you find a person that you really like, and then they're telling you not to do it, psychologically it creates this sense of rebellion.
But should there be some sort of balance? Because as you say, you meet somebody that you like, and you say it needs to be whatever the family says. You say whatever you feel like you get along with. You're going to be spending time with them more, and you say, okay, family family is always first, but is there some sort of balance you think you can balance it somehow? Because as you said, if you're family oriented, you're going to be spending time with your family, but at the same time you love that significant other. So how would you balance it? Maybe Castro, you would say it.
I think that, you know, if they've gone into this with a sense of having it not working, you know, yes, you know, they will adapt over time, but that adaptation is not going to really mean that they're going to like that person. So, you know, there's going to be more conflicts than in a normal type of relationship.
What about you?
And I'm an only child, so my parents and I are very close. So when we spend time together, that's the time that I majoritively spend. I need that other person to be okay with them, and then vice versa. And when you're younger, sometimes you don't understand the reasons why your parents don't approve of who you think is your significant other. And later on in life, you realize, oh, my parents or my family were right to tell me, you might want to rethink this or wait on it or consider these things that you don't see right now. So.
Like he said, she just said, like, my family and friends said, she's not good for you, and or he's not good for you. And now that I think about it, okay, maybe I shouldn't have dated, I should have listened to my family. But I've seen situations that it was the opposite, like the family forced that person to marry that person or to date that kind of person, and their relationship ended up not being what they wanted. So maybe you can give us a more detailed opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is you have to kind of take a step back and see why your family is disapproving the significant other, right? Have they even recognized or given the person a chance to see who they are at the core? Or are they making it based on a lot of assumptions? So I think that's one of the main things you have to kind of wean out first. Are they telling you this person is not good for you because that person is very controlling, possessive, abusive? That's a different scenario than someone who has never spoken to this other individual and is purely saying this isn't a good match for you because, as lack of a better word, a checklist, right? They don't make enough money, or they don't have the same status, or the same expectation, whether it's culturally, racially, or anything like that. I think that's where you have to kind of see why they don't like your significant other first and foremost, and that will determine how you move forward.
I see. Adam, so you tend to be on the other side, that you just go with whatever you like. How do you choose your significant other over family? How's that possible?
Well, it is possible because you guys say the word family, right? But you don't realize that your partner will become your family, right?
Yes,
and
that's
so
what I wanted to
when you say I choose my family over, well, that could entail you choose that individual and your child or whatever, that to be your family. So it's not really, you're like kind of saying, okay, because of this and this person's perspective on this person, or their friction or not, I'm not going to, you know, fully get to know someone or to, you know, exercise my relationship with this person or fulfill, you know, whatever. So I don't agree. I don't think that's right in the first place. But how do you do that? I think you have to have that balancing, and you have to say, okay, this is this person's place, and that's how they're going to play, and this is this person, my partner, my this is their spot in my life, and I'm not going to let these two. It's going to be a balancing act. It's very difficult, but like everything else in life, anything worth having is worth fighting for and having to put effort into. So.
But
Okay, go ahead.
I someone would agree with that. You know, I think it's the level of seclusion that you want to have. You know, so in his case, for the type of woman that, you know, he wants to spend the rest of his life is, that's essentially a person you're going to build a whole new foundation on. You're going to build a life with. So, you know, by doing that, you know, the priority is this is the person I'm going to have kids with. This is the person I'm going to travel the world with, versus let's bring this person into my family. Let's have my family approve. You know, that's not really, you know, top priority for most.
I don't know.
Well,
I
So-
disagree, because it sounds harder to do it that way. It's so much easier when it's the right person and the family they just get each other. You get them, everyone can hang out. There's no like conflict. You don't have to prove that he's like a good guy and, you know, please mom, accept it. Like,
But
why?
what if you don't get along with what your family likes? You're basically just...
But they will. I mean, because for me, it wasn't like you had to be arranged. The people that they tried to arrange me with, if I said no, they were okay with that. They wanted to wait until I found someone that I was okay with, that they were saying, okay, we agree to. And that's what happened. For me, like for my dad, it's really important when he goes out in society, he's like, I want who you're with to be introducible. I don't want it just some random
So
Joe.
what is
like,
that the definition of introducible?
Well, someone with
might
like
be
a
something
good,
different for them than for you.
right, like has a good reputation, you know, is financially secure, someone that I would be proud of introducing as my daughter's fiance.
Nice.
That's really important to him.
Looks like you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things that I'm hearing you guys say is very compartmentalizing, right? It's either everyone meshes and kumbaya and everyone is great, or you have completely two separate lives. And I don't necessarily think that it has to be one or the other. I think that even if your family does not like them, it's about tolerate. Can they tolerate this person as a mutual respect towards one another? Can we respect to be in the same space and be cordial towards each other? So for some people, that's enough. Other people, like based on what you're saying, is they want the very cohesive unit where there really isn't a line that is drawn between my son-in-law versus my son. Mm-hmm. Some people will always have that line. I think it has to really go down to what is your preference. And are you okay with, as long as my husband or wife is respectful towards my parents, that might be enough for them.
I see. You want to?
Yeah, no, so I think to the doctor's point, she mentioned earlier that there's a lot of qualities, if the person is aggressive or manipulative, creates negative vibes. I think in a lot of Western cultures, the parents will look past those, won't see those characteristics because they have this overlying image of what they want that person to be. They want a foundation, a career, someone who can take care of them. But ultimately, that same person who has those qualities may also have those qualities. Mm-hmm. So they don't see the full picture. And then to Adam's point, he mentioned he's someone he wants to get along with and build a life with.
Does the time frame with introducing your significant other to your family matter? Because I hear a lot of eventually that significant other going to be family. Okay, that's the time that okay, she's the one for me. I know I want to be with her. And whatever my family says, I don't care. But let's just say you're towards the beginning. Should you even think about introducing her or him to your family, or should you wait?
Okay, so this is it's a very complicated situation or scenario, as in the answer is not simple, and the reason being is this. You can determine very quickly if this person will approve your parents' standards or not, right? Your parents will like this person or not. And whether you say, okay, I'm going to get to that intended result because of my parents, I'm going to bring this person, introduce them quickly, and they're going to say no, shut it down, and then it's an uphill battle. Or you can try to delay that and say, okay, I'm going to wait time and then introduce them when I'm more vested in this relationship so that their say doesn't impact me as much or have much as an influence in it, and it can't. So you have to kind of play it that way. But there's obviously give and takes to it. There's the pros would be you're kind of cutting the time out, you're making it more efficient, they'll say no, you'll get their evaluation, then you're kind of giving them, or I mentioned the downside of it is you might be passing up a golden opportunity just because you wanted to be a little lazy and not build that relationship with them first to see if you may connect enough for this person to perceive. But I think the right way is that you spend time with that person, get to know that person, and then see if if the relationship is sustainable and it makes you happy, fulfills you. And then, if it takes 6 months, 9 months, however long it may take, then you bring them around and introduce them. And I'll be honest, I've been making that mistake a lot of times, introducing them prematurely to my friends, and then my friends get involved, my parents get involved, and everyone has an opinion in this world. So, and then those now have changed, your view in the get-go.
Yeah, and you probably won't even, you didn't spend enough time to really know that girl if your parents say, oh, she's just this, she's that, and you don't even know if she's really that kind of person your parents are saying or not. So maybe it's just a premature judging. So,
But one thing though I do want to say, and it kind of goes back to Sanaz, and me and her, we kind of differ on everything almost, if not a lot of things, if not everything. But just to agree with her, we tend, as humans, we tend to like things that are bad for us, right? Chocolate, sex, driving fast, these things, right? We like things that are bad, and probably people that are not the best for us in a lot of instances, right? I am one to admit
Those
that.
are healthy things in life.
Those aren't the healthy
They're
things.
not
We
bad
don't.
things.
I mean, sex is not a bad thing.
I mean, driving
Well, it
fast
depends.
on like
Not sure if
Right.
55
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah,
Let me just say, we like
Yeah,
everything I like. There was a quote. It
Hold
said,
on.
"Everything I like is immoral, fattening, or illegal." I
Okay,
think
let's
was
say
it.
we're tempted by like
Bad things.
greed and jealousy.
So our parents can act as good showstoppers or like filters to say, at a certain point below, like you're not, or you don't recognize this to be the case. So that is their benefit in the situation. So that does help.
But can their filter be different than yours?
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. So you get so sucked into this, just using the metaphorically, like a piece of chocolate is so good that you're so tempted and into it, but you're not realizing that it has so much calories and it could be so like unhealthy for you, whatever it is. And I'm using it, substitute the chocolate, put a relationship. This girl is just so bad for you, and you're kind of so involved and immersed in it that you don't see it.
You're being told not to do it, and by doing that makes you want to do it more.
But I think one of the things that's worth considering is a lot of times we're assuming that the input of others is the most accurate information, and we're giving them that input more power over our own input. So where does your own judgment, your own trust in what you feel and think play a role?
Go ahead.
That is such a, and the reason this really gets a reaction out of me is because my career and profession has impacted my judgment so much that I think it's clouded. And so I come from a legal background, and everyone is a suspect, and everyone is out to do something bad or is guilty before proven innocent. The flip side of what I kind of believe, and it's unfortunate because the law says innocent before proven guilty, but I think guilty, you're at fault until you prove to me that you're trustworthy or you're trusting. And that's impacted me because of just the nature of the people that you come across, the things that you have to see, unfortunately society as a whole, and the impacts that. So my judgment has been clouded, and so now when people give me advice, I tend to gravitate to that and say, yeah, that's the more reasonable or sound judgment than my take, because my take is going to be dark and.
But if you're the one who's spending the quality time with this other individual, why not trust that connection is real?
I don't know, because sometimes you don't see everything when you're having feelings or you're with that person.
Okay.
They could be really good at schmoozing their way or manipulating you to think a certain way. So somebody else who has no feeling or bias can come in and maybe give you a better opinion. But I have a question for Adam. You're saying they're guilty until they're proven. Who are you referring to? The person that
your partner, and I should say, not trusting, or so.
So like that new person that you meet, you're considering them as somewhat
Not trustworthy until proven
Okay.
trustworthy.
because of
The partner.
Okay.
And it's just a lot of things. Like, so you'll meet this person, you'll say this person has an ulterior motive and they have some.
So you're suspicious of everyone that you meet, pretty much. Like you don't know if they're going to be good for you until they show that they are.
Right. And I
Okay.
think that puts a big strain on it, and that affects my judgment, and it makes and it puts a burden on relationships.
I have
so
that
that's-
feeling too. I have that
that's
feeling
where you go and seek for
We can agree on
approval
that.
of family,
Yeah.
right? Like that's where you go and
Well, no, he
on the
doesn't.
second date you go introduce that girl to your family just to see what they're saying because
and test them. So it's for so.
Well, I thought you didn't care what your family.
No,
I thought he doesn't
yeah,
care.
I don't think I seek approval. I think it's more so to test environments, to like put them in the situation and see their reactions, like in a vacuum type of thing, right? So in environments where your friends are there, and her reactions are now, are they mature?
Differently.
What's that?
Does she behave differently? Does she act fake? Does she try to create herself into an image that she's not.
Is she herself
Yeah.
or not?
When you take a person into a different, in another environment, it can impact the thing. So I don't think it's seeking approval, but more so putting them in that position. And it's unfortunate because what happens is that person now can come back and say that why do I have to deal with this environment or this person that's like has these challenges. Now, all of us would, any human being would say that I'm a human. This is me. I can't help the fact that I have these issues, right? And I think that's an issue too, because as society we've like said, okay, yeah, I have these problems. I'll just find someone who'll deal with it. Yet not acknowledge and try to like better ourselves and get over our problems internally. So I am cognizant of that, and I do try to, but that is something that is a
I think one thing we are not touching on is what if your family initially, or friends, initially like your significant other, and then later on when you are in that relationship, whether it's marriage or long-term committed relationship, they now dislike them. And how do you handle that? Because at this point now they're in your inner circle, right? They've gotten past the 1 or 2 or 3 dates, and everyone really got along and meshed well,
Right.
but now personalities are clashing, or there is a situation, for example, you're married and your significant other is unfaithful. And you have chosen to remain in that marriage and have chosen to work on that marriage. But now your family completely dislikes that person. So now how do you balance that?
Always take your mom's side.
But that's our default position. I think that's a rule of thumb, but I don't think that works.
I know.
So if in an instance of two people, I think we use the family and this in the relationship, but I think if we just think of it in the context of individuals, two individuals that you're close with, and they start parting ways, how should that impact you, or after some time? And I think you need to evaluate it and really see what's going on, and then make sure that doesn't impact your relationship with them if there's a cross issue between the two parties, right? So if, do you understand? So if like my mother doesn't get along with my partner, if it's because she's doing something wrong, then I should recognize that and learn and try to fix the situation and then try to address it. If it's because they just don't like the same colors and she's ticking her off because of her her dress style, right? Then I should know that and not let that impact my view on my partner.
I think the one thing I would say is just be cautious of people's definition of. You said if she's doing something wrong, right? Your mom's version of what she's doing that is wrong may be different than your significant others or even yourself, right? Things like clothes is a topic that some people consider wrong. She wore something too short or too high, or how much they interact with other people, going out alone without their significant other. That can be perceived as doing how much money they spend. That can be perceived as how much you're doing something wrong. So I think all of that can influence your perception of your current relationship and how you react to that person that's sitting in front of you.
Just as something to add, I think we didn't talk about the influence of friends. I know I've heard of some people who choose their significant other based on the type of friends they hang out with, and I've heard the opposite way, that for them to be with that significant other, they just cut relationships with their friends. So
Probably in high school.
You started shaking your head.
Well, in high school, maybe that was, if my friends like you, then I guess I can go out with you. But I mean, not anymore, I don't think.
Friends don't play a role.
Actually, no, I've seen it among like 30 and 40. If there's a group of friends, like a circle of, let's say they're guys and they're very close, and one of them starts seeing someone, they do kind of say, oh, we approve, or, they do talk about that still. I think it.
Yeah, I think to
high school carries
kind
on.
of put two ideas together. Adam was talking about before that maybe on the second or third date he'll bring him around his friends, and in his case I think he wants more approval from his friends and his family, because he always in that environment, and if he's with a woman, she's going to be there too.
So
But
what about you?
For me, I mean, I'm more of a lone wolf. So, I'm more secluded. I build my own life. I'm an individual. So for that person, for me, the approval is not as great. Because
So
maybe I go with
if you
my
had
friends
to,
every once in a
if
while.
you had to choose between friends and your significant other, you would choose that significant other and cut the relationship with the friends.
I wouldn't say it would be that extreme. I'd
Okay.
find a way to adapt. But ultimately, it's if
It's okay.
there may be some gossip and stuff like that. That nothing's going to stop me from continuing with someone I want to be with. So.
What about you, Adam? Does it play a role?
So this has happened for me. I have specific instances which it kind of now gives teeth to the topic. A lot of times, my friends I've gone to, and I have been recognized as so much. I prioritize my friends a lot.
Okay.
Like I have a lot of friends, and I prioritize my friends, and that like if my friend said this person isn't good for you or something, that would impact me more so, right? And so in that scenario, just to answer your question, significant other, like what degree? Like wife versus friend?
You met that girl that you really you think she's for you.
I mean, wife.
But it seems like she's not getting along with your friends, or the crowd is different. Like your type of friends are like more like an outgoing party goer and all that. And for example, your wife is more like a religious person, likes to go to church or whatever religion, mosque, whatever. But you're really clicking with her, and you cannot like have the same environment that you used to hang out with your friends. What would you do in that situation?
Are you willing to adapt?
Hard question.
It's a very hard question.
I think you're going to be who you're going to be. If you've been going out with your friends, I know my dad's very social, and up until this day, he likes to have his friends over. He likes to have parties, and my mom's not like that. She just cannot change him, and he's in his 60s, and he still does it. He likes to go out to parties and and just be with his friends, and he needs a partner to understand that. So some guys are going to grow into their old age and still have it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just.
I think I'll be that guy, the old guy
and
who has my friends.
You need a woman who understands that, because
So it's very important that she can.
she's not gonna. He's not gonna
absolutely.
spend a lot of time with her, and he doesn't. He spends more time with his friends.
I think your question was, what if she isn't about adapting, though? In that
What if she's
particular.
not about adapting and you had to choose? Yeah.
Yikes. You're eventually gonna wanna go be with your friends. Deep down, that's socially who you are.
And I feel like even if I say I'll go sneak out and go hang out with my friends, it's kind of like cheating. It's like, might as well go just like find another girlfriend too on the side.
Exactly.
It might have to do with trust. It might be a level of trust that he has with his friends.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to let that go.
If you're dating somebody, you're on the second date, you and Adam are like BFFs, and Adam says that she looks this certain way, she looks that certain way, she's just, I don't know,
She doesn't like
she has like a big nose or whatever. Does that affect you?
Not eventually, no, because
You're gonna notice.
But
I think
eventually.
there's a chatter of gossip there, but sometimes I'm always open to
She's so
intelligence
giant.
and advice from other people, and if I see enough data to match that evidence, I'm not oblivious to these types of things. I always look at I mind my surroundings, so I'll listen to the advice, but I'm not going to do something extreme and be like, okay, I'm not going to talk to this person again. But,
What about you, Adam?
Wow.
If Casper
In all
comes,
honesty-
you're dating a girl, and then Casper says
Yeah,
she
in
looks
all
like a
honesty,
hamster.
everybody wants
Yeah,
the best. So if other guys don't agree, then he's probably not gonna. You're probably gonna look at her a little different, maybe just a little.
No, a lot.
Oh, there you go, a lot.
I will break up
There
with
you
her
go.
if anyone
There you
of my
go.
friends calls her a hamster. I mean,
Oh, that's terrible.
yeah.
Because let's be fair, we all do want the best, and if you're hearing that, it can affect
You
Sure.
want like the approval of the
You
environment,
want
the
someone who's
social-
desirable
yeah.
by others too. It's a human nature.
I think it's definitely true. I think we are creatures of where we do, maybe it's cultural, whether it's societal, but we do take the input of others into consideration. But I always also would say that, that saying, do what I say, not what I do. And I think the reason that saying is so important in this situation is a lot of times my expectation for myself may be actually at a lower bar than my expectation for what your life should be, right? So that interaction that I anticipate, because again, it's all about this image. I have an image of what you should look like when you're in a relationship versus what you should look like when you're in a relationship. And, that can alter how I give you input. So it may not be that the person you're with is necessarily doing anything wrong, but it's how I'm perceiving it because they're not doing it the way I envision them to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, think about.
It's very deep.
It is.
It's just so deep that it's kind of like over my head. But just I think that we're kind of it might be saying the same thing. If I'm not, correct me. If someone comes, assume I have a partner or something that I value very much, and let's just use the analogy of a watch, and I show it to someone and they say, that looks like a cheap watch. It really, really affects you. It tests you, especially because you're prideful of it. It's an indication of you, especially like a partner, which means so much. It's pretty much like. If you really are close to this, it's symbolic of you. And if someone does that, it really affects you. It goes to your core. So by people doing it, which they do often too much when they shouldn't be talking about, like, oh, what your partner looks like. Like that friend that makes that comment should not be making that comment, because that's just below. Like that's something that. You've had enough value, or you have enough emotional connection with that individual.
Self-esteem.
Why he's being
It's an attack of
honest
like
with-
his honor, and now your only way to cleanse the situation is to remove yourself from the situation.
But I think you have to go back to how was it created where that person thinks that it's their right to say that comment, right? Because somehow you have opened up yourself to a situation where he feels like he has the right to tell me that this person looks like a hamster, right? Versus saying, okay, it's not my cup of tea, but let me get to know that person.
I mean,
Right.
I think that at the end of the
Where
day,
that-
it's, I had a very good friend of mine who for this exact same scenario, told me that it's not whether your friend is infatuated by her, it's if you're infatuated by her. Is there a sexual attraction there? And if there is, it doesn't matter if it's what your friend thinks or what your family thinks. It's am I sexually attracted to this person?
I think
If you have a solid answer to that question from the beginning of the relationship, there's no reason why that should change. And if you are influenced by that change, I think that's a red flag for maybe more of a self-esteem issue.
True.
But if you have a sexual infatuation, everyone else in the room has a sexual
Yeah,
infatuation
exactly.
on
I
that
was
person
gonna
too,
say.
which becomes an issue
Not exactly.
sometimes. Most of the time.
Maybe you
Majority,
are
yeah.
attracted to someone who has the
Fat
facial qualities of a hamster, and maybe it's maybe
Yeah,
that's
maybe
your
that's just your
maybe
thing.
that's your preference, and that's
You
I
like
think that's
I don't think anyone's preference is to be
no
with a
I mean
hamster.
you never know. I
Hey,
know maybe
look,
this is
beauty
not the
in
right type of
eye
example,
of the beholder. They say
it's what your preference is, and if you embrace that preference, I think it's a sign of high confidence and self-esteem.
Okay.
So,
Oh, you wanted
Yeah.
to.
I was going to say, ultimately, I think that if you are happy in that situation, your family and friends will come on board, because there's a quality that other person possesses that is drawing you to them. And your friends and family may not see that initially, because again, they have a vision of who you should and ought to be with. They may have a vision of someone that you're with who makes more money than you do. But in the end, you may be with someone who makes equal or less money than you. So once they get past that initial phase, they may come around and actually see the person for who they are. Now, with that being said, there are times that you do have to be cautious about what they're telling you. If someone is telling you, be cautious, this person is very controlling, very verbally abusive, I think that's a very different scenario than what we're talking about right now.
I think you made a great point, but I think we're running out of time. So I just want to ask you guys one last question. Each one of you just choose one, the other, family versus significant other. Which one would you choose if you had to choose?
family.
You?
Significant other.
family.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap up the?
No, I mean, I think, like I said before, I think it really has to do with be cautious of why they may dislike each other. If it's just a personality clash, that's very different. I mean, the reality is, not every single person is going to like the person you're with. It's just impossible because of personality clashes. So if it's a personality clash, then as long as they're able to be respectful and in the same atmosphere and sphere, being respectful towards each other, then I think you're okay. But if they don't like the other person because of things that can be physically or emotionally damaging to you, that's something that you really have to consider.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and thank you guys for your input.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us. True love isn't found, it's built.